Welcome to A Lot to Grow Through. I'm your host, Artist Desjardins, and this is a space of thoughtful conversations on healing, growth, and the art of becoming. Here you'll understand you have to grow through it, not just go through it. Today I'm talking about why I left, what I learned during the 4 years away, and why I'm ready to come back now, with a completely different perspective on what this podcast is and who it's for. Let's get into it. 4 years ago, I recorded what would be my last episode. I didn't know it at the time. I just stopped. And I need to tell you why. I fell out of love with podcasting, or at least that's what I told myself. But the truth is more complicated than that. At the time of me doing this podcast the first time around, I was in an unknown healing journey. The more the days passed, the stronger I was being pulled deeper and deeper into healing. It honestly went from small recoveries to full-fledged emotional releases that exhausted me after everything was over. The more severe healing moments were me being given a bird's eye view of a severely traumatic event in my life and getting to witness all of the components that one wouldn't see simply through their own eyes. It's truly a blessing how I was able to get through these opportunities because those traumatic events in my life plagued me for decades, trying to fully access, understand, and overcome them. And mind you, all of this is happening without me being in therapy. Looking back now, I can see I wasn't ready for the conversations. I was talking about healing, but I couldn't formulate words for my own healing work. I was discussing mental wellness while my own mental health was in a constant chaos. And you can't give what you don't have. I think a lot of us do this. We become experts on the things we're struggling with. We teach what we most need to learn. We help others as a way of avoiding helping ourselves. Because I definitely was avoiding some of my own issues until I no longer had the choice. And that's what I was doing. So I stopped. Not because I planned to. Not because I wanted to disappoint the people who were listening, but because I couldn't keep showing up inauthentically. Shortly after I stopped podcasting, I started my bachelor's program in psychology. And I'll be honest, I didn't go into it thinking it would save my life. I went into it because I wanted a shift and I wanted to understand the frameworks for continued healing. And a plus, I could use my degree to start making a change in the lives of others. But something happened when I started learning the clinical side of trauma, attachment, and healing. The theories weren't just theories anymore. They were mirrors. I saw myself in every lecture, every case study, every model of dysfunction and recovery. And I started applying what I was learning, not just to case studies, but to myself. I developed my own processes, trial and error, a lot of error actually. I created boundaries that felt rigid at first because I didn't know how to set them without overcorrecting. I tried healing modalities that didn't work for me. I had breakthroughs that felt like breakdowns. It wasn't linear, it wasn't pretty, but it was real. And through all of that, the education, the experimentation, the uncomfortable growth, I learned something I never thought I'd be able to say. I know peace now. Not the kind of peace where nothing's wrong, the kind where things can go wrong and I'm still okay. Where I can hold hard emotions without falling apart. Where I trust myself to handle whatever comes. That's the difference. And that's why I'm back. Here are some things I learned. Lesson 1. Healing isn't linear. I used to think healing was progressive. You get a little better each day until you're healed. And that's not how it works. Lesson 2. You can't think your way through trauma. I'm someone who lives in my head. I read, I analyze, I intellectualize. But trauma isn't stored in your thoughts. It's stored in your body, your nervous system, your patterns. Understanding why I was triggered didn't stop me from being triggered. I needed more than insight. I needed embodied healing. And lesson 3, healing requires community. I used to think, well, I can do this alone. I'm strong. I don't need help. But that was trauma talking. That was my I don't want to be a burden pattern. And healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in relationship. These 4 years weren't wasted. They were necessary. I'm not the same person who walked away from this podcast, and that's why I'm ready to come back. So why now? What changed? I'm not coming back because I figured everything out. I'm not coming back because I'm healed and have all the answers. I'm coming back because I learned how to sit with not knowing. I learned how to be honest about where I am. I learned that healing isn't about being perfect. It's about being present with what is. Here's what's different now. Before, I was talking about topics that would resonate with others while not starting my healing journey from the woes of past trauma to have a distinct understanding on how I felt, pretty much blind advice. Now, I'm living in the questions, showing up with my mess and my growth, offering conversations from a place of authenticity. And honestly, people kept asking, when is the Lots of Growth 3 coming back? At first I didn't know, but then I realized it's not about coming back to what it was. It's about creating something new that honors what I've learned. I really miss podcasting, especially talking about mental wellness. It feels good getting back to the hard conversations and constantly healing, even if it's a little day by day. With this version of the podcast, I'm creating space for thoughtful conversations. I'm exploring alongside you, not preaching at you. This isn't about me having it figured out. It's about us navigating the complexity of healing together. The focus is specific: healing, growth, and transformation for adults ready to do the inner work. We're going to talk about trauma and how it shapes us, emotional depth and learning to feel, relational patterns and setting boundaries, personal transformation and who we're becoming, and practical frameworks that actually help. We're not going to oversimplify. We're not going to offer quick fixes. We're going to honor the complexity and nuance of healing. I understand this podcast isn't for everyone, and that's okay. This is for you if you're tired of surface level wellness content, you want thoughtful conversations, not sound bites, you're willing to sit with discomfort, you understand healing is complex and takes time, and you're ready to grow through it, not just go through it. Now, understand this is not for you if you want quick fixes or step-by-step formulas. You need constant motivation and positivity. You're not ready to look at your patterns, and you want someone to tell you exactly what to do. Each episode will be thoughtful, practical, and rooted in both psychological frameworks and real lived experience. I'm committed to consistency this time. Not perfection, but showing up. If you want to be a part of the podcast and show support, you can submit listener letters and voice messages at ALTGT.com and share your story, ask questions, request topics, leave reviews where you're listening. It helps others find the podcast, and share episodes with people who might need to hear these conversations. And this is a conversation, not a monologue. I want to hear from you. Now, before we close, I want to make this important mention. I'm a mental health advocate. I've done my own healing work and learned that healing never stops. I've done my studies, but I'm not your therapist. If you're struggling with mental health challenges, please reach out to a professional. And if you're in crisis, call 988 or reach out to a mental health provider. This podcast is a resource, not treatment. So here we are. 4 years later, A Lot to Grow Through is back. But it's not the same podcast because I'm not the same person. I learned that healing isn't about having it all figured out. It's about showing up honestly, doing the work, and being present with what is. I learned that you have to grow through it, not just go through it. And I learned that the conversations we avoid are often the ones we need most. If you've been carrying unhealed trauma, if you're tired of surface level solutions, if you're ready for thoughtful conversations about what it actually takes to heal, you're in the right place. Thank you for being here. Whether you've been here since the beginning or this is your first time listening, I'm glad you're here. Until then, healing isn't linear and you're doing better than you think. I'll see you next week.